Afternoon, everybody. The Zoom room is filling up as we speak, so we're going to just wait a couple minutes here and make sure everybody gets their technology functioning and working before we officially kick off our River Cruise 101 webinar presented by Voyage Travel. We'll get started here in just a minute, and we want to be respectful of your time, so we're not going to wait too long to get kicked off here, but I'm seeing some stragglers come into the Zoom room, and we want to give everybody a chance to jump in. I know we have some clients in the room, so we're excited. Thank you for your business. Thank you for coming back. I hope we're able to disseminate a ton of great information for you today. That's our goal. We're going to go fast. We're going to go furious. So hopefully you've got your pen and paper handy. We do have a handout that I'll reference here in a little bit that you can click on, but you can also, we will also be mailing that out to you through email. We'll be emailing it to you. So make sure that you're available for note taking, because I am going to go pretty fast. So we'll wait just a little bit longer and let the Zoom room fill up. We'll get our housekeeping things out of the way and get started here on River Cruising 101. You're in the right place if you are looking for information, unedited, unfiltered, unbiased information, that is. So we definitely want you to know that this is a webinar that is going to tell you a lot about the ins and outs of river cruising. But also, somebody did have a good question. We are recording this, so we will have it sent out as a post follow-up to you in case you want to rewatch something or share it with a friend. Or maybe you missed something as I do go fast and furious. So thank you for that question. We are recording this webinar. It will also be available on our website on bvtravel.com. We will be posting that within a day or two of this presentation. So, all right, I think we've waited a fair amount of time for people to jump in the Zoom room. Let's go ahead and get started. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Ryan Hansen, president of Bon Voyage Travel here in Tucson, Arizona. We're very thankful that you decided to take about 45 minutes of your time today to learn all of the unedited, unbiased, unfiltered view of river cruising. And today, I'm going to take you through a journey of everything from which river you could sail on, all the way through to what's the differences between ocean cruising and river cruising. What's the onboard life like? I've never been on a river cruise. If you have that question, hopefully by the end of today, you're going to have a really good feel for what it's like to be on the rivers. I mentioned a handout, and we do have that available. So at the bottom of your Zoom screen, you will see the chat feature. There is a couple of flyers that are there, but they are the same one, River Cruise 101 comparison. It's our flyer that gives you the different cruise lines that we support heavily, that we know very much, we know a lot about, and kind of gives you some of the differences and the nuances in that comparison sheet. I'm going to talk about a fair number of those, but this will be a good handout for you to print out and reference later on after the presentation is over. So take a look at that, click that link, and you will be up to speed on a lot of our comparison things as we get started. So I'm going to go ahead and get started here with our unedited, unbiased, unfiltered view of river cruising. I have been on a fair number of river cruises myself. A number of the cruise partners that I'm going to talk about today, I have actually sailed on. So I have firsthand experience. In addition to, our advisors know these cruise lines inside and out. And so any question that you might have following this presentation, I would strongly encourage you to connect with the advisor you work with, or reach out to us through our website and we will connect you with a river cruise expert. Here is the handout that I referenced. Not going to stay on this screen very long, but this is the one that you can find in the chat button. When you click on that button, there's a PDF that you can download to your device and either look at that while we're going through the presentation or print it out to refer to it later. But this is something that I will be going through a lot of this content during the presentation. And really today is to share with you the differences that are along the river. And maybe some of it is, I've been on a river cruise, but I don't know the difference between Viking and whatever else is out there. Maybe you've been on a fair number of ocean cruises and you want to know the difference between all of the ocean cruise options that are out there for you and what that looks like versus a river cruise. I'll share with you those differences and those similarities in some cases. But let's get started going through what is the river cruise difference. And today it's going to be all about the top 5. The top 5 differences from a river cruise, primarily comparing it to an ocean cruise. First of all, it's hundreds of people versus thousands of people. River cruises vary between 98 to 100 passengers on Tauk, all the way up to 190 on Viking. That's pretty much in Europe. The largest capacity ship you're going to be on is 190 people. So there's just not as many people on these ships. You have to remember, too, the size of the vessels are going to be quite a bit different to house hundreds of people versus thousands of people. So think of scale. Everything is going to be a little bit smaller. Your suites are not going to be as big and as expansive on a river ship. Your standard stateroom on a river vessel is going to be slightly smaller. So everything is just scaled down slightly, but not really to a point that's going to cause you any issues. The river difference, great cities and small towns, right? These river cruise companies are going to take you to destinations like Vienna and Prague and Budapest and Cologne. These are places you can't get to on an ocean vessel. So it might unlock a whole new geographical map for you to put your pin on to say, I've been to. And it is, in a lot of cases, I named a lot of the big cities, but it's a lot of small towns like Leon-de-Lis in France. If you're on the Seine River, this is a fantastic stop where you can just step off the river ship and you're in this beautiful, quaint town of Leon-de-Lis. We're at the top of the hill. You can climb up the hill to Chateau Galliard. And at the top of the hill at Chateau Galliard, this is a castle that was built back in Richard the Lionheart's days. You can just walk off the ship and climb up the hill to this beautiful castle in France. That is what you're going to unlock on the river versus an ocean. And please note, the focus of a river cruise, got to change your mindset, is the destination. I know you're probably always looking for a special destination and an itinerary that fits your destination needs when you're wanting to cruise on the oceans of the world. When you're cruising on the waterways and the rivers of the world, really think about destination. So get out of the mindset of what's on the ship. What are all the special things? What's the entertainment on the ship? Is there a gym? Is there a fitness center? What's the spa facility look like? Got to change your mindset. A lot of the things that I just mentioned that are key factors in selecting an ocean cruise ship are not going to be the same. It's all about the destination on the river. Why? Because in so many cases, almost all, there are a few that you don't get to do this, but in almost all cases, you dock in the heart of the town or the city. If you take a cruise to Athens, note, you're not going to step off the ship and climb to the Acropolis right there. You're going to take a bus from the Port of Piraeus into Athens and then get up to the Acropolis. So that happens in a lot of places. I just stepped off of a cruise a couple of weeks ago. We were in Glasgow. You're not actually getting off in Glasgow. You dock in Greenock and take a 40-minute train or a 40-minute bus ride into Glasgow. Most of the time on the rivers, you dock in the heart and step right off the ship into these wonderful cities. So put your mind into the mindset that this is much like a floating hotel. So like a land trip where you use the hotel for maybe some food, but it's really where you sleep and where you relax after a day out in the city. That's what a river cruise vessel is for you. It's a floating hotel. So you get to unpack once, and this river ship takes you all along the river to these wonderful cities and towns where you get to just step right off into the town. So view your river ship as a floating hotel versus sometimes if you're in the Caribbean, you could be on a 3,000 passenger Norwegian cruise line vessel that has the water slides, and it's got the movie theater, and it's got the bumper cars, and it's got all of these wonderful, fun things on a ship. Not going to have the Cirque du Soleil act on the Royal Caribbean ship on a river cruise. There isn't space for it, and that's not the mission. That's not the vision of what a river cruise ship is all about. It's about your floating hotel. In addition to many of the things that I talked about, let's talk more about the top 5 things from an onboard life standpoint. Think about, again, the number of guests on and off the ship, embark and debark in these different ports of call. It's a breeze. You're not dealing with the thousands of people trying to get off the ship of a Princess ship or a Norwegian ship to get to the shore excursion. You're dealing with less than 190 people at the most. If you're on a talc cruise, you could be with 98 fellow passengers, 97 plus yourself. So it's a whole lot easier to get on and off the ship with ease. Getting to and from your stateroom, easy. You're not dealing with elevators that have to traverse 14 decks. Talc has an elevator that goes up 1 floor. So if you are need-based and need the elevator, it's there. But in many cases, it's just 1 flight of stairs from your deck for your stateroom to the public area. It's a breeze and much more relaxing, I might add. Passenger to crew ratio. You need to understand what that is. The difference between an ocean ships and river ships is pretty dramatic. There's a whole lot more passengers than there are crew. Sometimes there's 3,000 passengers and only 500 crew. So that passenger to crew ratio is pretty high. You want a low number. So I'll refer you back to that printout. If you look at that handout, Viking has 3.8 passengers for every crew member. You want a very low number. If it says 3.1 passengers for every crew, what does that mean to you? That means there's more crew helping you, servicing you in the dining room, helping you on shore, getting you through, getting on and off the ship. There's more crew there to help you if there's a problem. Sometimes there's problems. You always want more crew to be there to help you. Service levels will be higher when there's more crew. So you want a super low number of passengers to crew on the ratio. Food. Let's talk about food. There's great food on the river. In many cases, it's locally sourced to the point where the chef gets off the ship, goes into the local market, buys whatever they need for the day, brings it back on the ship and cooks it that night. That is many times what you will see. You're going to get the Wiener Schnitzel when you're in Austria, served right to you at your table. But recognize the number of food options is going to be quite a bit less than what you're going to experience on an ocean ship. Ocean ship, you could have up to 20 different dining venues. On a river cruise vessel, you're looking at 1 main dining room, 1 maybe upscale area, and then maybe kind of a grill on the outside. There might be 4 or 5 different venues on some of the bigger ships that cater to more restaurants, but just know it's not going to be 20. So you will be in the same dining facility more often than not. And in some cases, your breakfast could be more of a buffet style where your dinner is a la carte, ordering off of a menu. But note that the food is very good on the river cruises. It's just you don't have the variety of options or the number of specialty dining restaurants that could focus on an Italian restaurant or an Asian fusion, right? That's what a lot of the ocean vessels cater to, not so much on the river. Still great food though. Amenities. We touched on this earlier and the differences between ocean and river. Again, think about this and look at your handout when you have a chance. Viking does not have a gym. They'll help you get to a gym on shore if you want to go work out, but there's no gym. AMA Waterways travels with bicycles. That's an amenity. The bicycles are on the ship and come with you along the river. So if you want to hop on a bike ride and just take off, you will have a bicycle available to you right there from the ship. So there are differences between the river cruise company when it comes to amenities, but you got to think about what you're looking for. Floating hotel. So it's not going to have the extensive spa that you're going to have on some of the ships, like Regent Seven Seas has an amazing spa on Splendor. I've been in it. It's amazing. It's expansive. There's multiple rooms. Many of the cruise lines in the river don't even have a spa. So you got to know that going in. Don't get on and think, oh, I'm going to get my hair done because I always get my hair done in the spa. There may not be facilities for you on your river cruise experience. So ask that question to an advisor. Do they have spa facilities? Because I love having a spa experience on a river, on a cruise. Got to think about that when you're selecting your experience. Other amenities that we'll get to and talk about are beer, wine, and spirits. Most of the cruise lines on the river offer complimentary beer and wine at lunch and dinner. Make sure you know, if you're traveling on Uniworld, you can get beer, wine, or spirits at any time of the day or night, at any time, not just at meal time. So if you love your after dinner, I want to go sit in the lounge and have a cocktail, but I don't want to pay for it, Uniworld is your choice. If you don't care about that stuff, you're like, hey, I just need a nice Cabernet at dinner. That's all I want. That's perfect. Then the other cruise lines will cater to you just fine. Those details are on that handout, but also our advisors can help you. Shore excursions. What does that look like? Every cruise line has very good shore excursions, but you got to think, and I'm going to help you with some vocabulary for cruising here. When you see the phrase city highlight tour, what does that mean? It means you're going to get off the ship, onto a bus, and drive around the city. And you're going to see a lot of sights from the comfort of a motor coach, air conditioned, temperature controlled, which, by the way, right now may be good because Europe is going through a very, very hot season, just like we are here in Arizona. So that might be perfect for you. But if you want something more immersive, a little bit more active, maybe where you're walking, get past the city highlights tours. And on your handout, take note. Some cruise lines have one free shore excursion in every port. Some have one free shore excursion a day. Why does that matter? Because river cruises sometimes hit 2 ports in a day. Sometimes you are docked somewhere first thing in the morning. You get to experience that for the morning, and then you sail during lunch, and then you hit another port down the river. Well, if you only get one free shore excursion per day, you have to pay for the other one. So just make note of that as you're making your decisions and looking at the different companies. Handout is a great resource. Our advisors are an even better resource that can help you understand what those shore excursions look like. Next topic, let's get into which river matters to you. Which river is what you want to experience, because not all rivers are the same. But let's start with this stat. 85% of all river cruise beds are in Europe. 85%. And the 5 rivers that I'm going to share with you right now are all in Europe. If you have not sailed on a river cruise at all, I would recommend starting on the Rhine River. And where is the Rhine? The Rhine cruises typically either start or end in Amsterdam and make their way down through Germany. And most of the time you get off in Antwerp, or sometimes you can get all the way down to Passau or Nuremberg before you go through the Main-Danube Canal. So the Rhine is a fantastic start. This is your experience on the Rhine River. This is from Cologne. This is the type of landscape that you're going to see. Great architecture, wonderful cathedrals, great castles. Germany is wonderful with this, but you could also be on the Dutch waterways. One of the best cruises to go on is the Tulip Time cruise. Typically April and early May cruises in the Netherlands is where you're going to see the tulips at the most perfect blossoming time. So if that's something that's of interest to you, you want to sail on the Rhine River. Don't go in August. Tulips are not going to be blooming to the same vibrant, wonderful colors that they are in the first part of the season in April and in early May. Next river, if you have done the Rhine, or you're thinking, okay, and maybe I don't want to do the Netherlands and Germany, I want to get more into Austria and Hungary and down into the lower Danube, that is the river for you, the Danube. So typically starting in Passau or Vienna, you can make your way all the way down to Bucharest and many stops in between. And all of the cruise lines that we're going to talk about later have 7-night or 14-night, or Some of them have grand European river cruise itineraries that can take you all the way from Amsterdam all the way down to Bucharest. That's a fantastic experience, but be ready. It's a 2-week experience for you. So as you look at the Danube River, the highlights of the Danube are typically going to be Vienna. They're going to be Budapest. They're going to be Bucharest. It's an amazing experience, quite different than the castles and the cathedrals and the rolling forest hills of Germany when you get down into the lower Danube. And this is Budapest. I have been into Budapest a couple of times. If you don't know, the Danube River splits Buda and Pest onto each side. And I talked earlier about docking in the heart of the city. I'm going to toggle back and forth here. Here's me and my wife on Viking on the Danube River. And here we are at the Chain Bridge. And I'm going to go back one slide. The Chain Bridge is the bridge that is nearest to us in this picture. So you can see, holy cow, that is docking in the heart of the city. You step right off of the ship and you are right there with the wonderful sights of the Danube River, wonderful sights of Budapest. So this is kind of an iconic experience on a river cruise is Budapest. You can walk right into the market. You've got the Parliament Hall is there for you, and you just sail up and down this river. Most of the time during dinner service, your captain will sail out onto the Danube and turn around and come back to give both sides of the ship these wonderful vistas and views of these beautifully lit up Parliament Hall and castles and cathedrals. It's a fantastic river experience on the Danube. Third in our list from a river experience is the Seine. And typically almost all of these start in Paris, and you make your way up to the Normandy beaches. And I mentioned the beautiful, quaint town of Léon-de-Lys. It is on this itinerary. In addition to Léon-de-Lys, you don't see the city here, but Giverny is one of your stops on almost all Seine River experiences and itineraries. In Giverny, you get to go to Monet's gardens. What a fantastic experience to see the inspiration behind the paintings of Monet is to walk through the gardens. So you get that. You get Chateau Gaillard in Léon-de-Lys. And then what every American should put on their bucket list, if you haven't done it, you have to do it. Go to the beaches of Normandy. Get a full understanding and appreciation for what our country's soldiers did on D-Day on June 6th, 1944, to stand on the beaches, to stand up at the top of the hill and to see what the German bunkers were looking down on, and just the amazing feat that our military had to overcome. You got to do it. I had a personal experience. My grandfather landed on Omaha Beach on June 6th. He was a gunner's mate in the Navy. He survived the landing primarily because he stayed on the LST and he was just feeding ammunition to the machine gun. Did not get off actually on the beaches. Thank goodness, because my dad was born in 1947. So if my grandfather does not survive that day, I'm not here to tell you about this wonderful cruise experience. But when you are there, in addition to the beachhead, you get a chance to go to the American Cemetery there in Normandy. It is a harrowing experience. Very respectful time. I think you will fully enjoy the Seine experience from a river standpoint. And either before or after, tack on a couple days in Paris. You cannot beat a couple days in Paris. By the way, if you're booking or thinking about booking for next year, make note, the Olympics in 2024 are in Paris. Buyer beware. If you're going to book your Paris experience and be on the Seine, make sure you understand when the Olympics are. Maybe you want to be there. Maybe this is your ticket to be there during the Olympics. But note, there's going to be a lot of people. Here is kind of your vistas and what you can see when you're on the Seine River. You don't get to dock right there at the Eiffel Tower, but you do get very, very close. Next on our list from a river experience, after the Seine, we're going to stay in France. We're going to go to the south of France. This is the Rhone. And we're going to embark in Lyon, and it's going to take you all the way down the Rhone to some wonderful places, to Avignon. Here is Avignon. I mean, come on, how beautiful is this? But much different than the German countryside of the Rhine, much different than Austria and the Danube, even the northern part of France. You get into the southern part of France, and I love this area. There's one little quaint town that some of the cruises get to called Aix-en-Provence. Some of you may have been there on an ocean experience, but what I love to do on a river cruise is follow my nose. Follow my nose. When I step off of any river vessel, I promise you, in almost every city, there is a nearby bakery that is baking pastries and the fare of the day. If you just sniff a little bit, you will find that bakery. And that's one of my favorite pastimes, is following my nose off of the Rhone River. That is a great experience. Now we're going to keep heading west here and end our top 5 rivers of Europe on the Douro. This is in Portugal, and most of the time I would recommend that you would do a pre-trip to your river experience in Lisbon, and then make your way up to Porto to get onto the Douro River. And this is a much different landscape. You can see it. It's more of a Mediterranean feel than it is the castles and cathedrals and rolling hills of Germany, or even of France. The Douro River is a great experience for you. Most of these ships on this river are slightly smaller than the vessels that are on the Rhine and the Danube and the Seine. But the Douro is a great option for you. And one of the great themed cruises we'll talk about ties into wine. So if wine is up your alley, we're going to touch on that right now. Let's go back real quick. So we got the 5 rivers of Europe. There are other rivers to sail on outside of Europe. I'll hit on some of those during these themed cruises. But if you've sailed on the Rhine, if you've done the Seine, and you love the river, but you want maybe an enhanced experience, think of a themed cruise. One of the top 5 themed cruises, I'm putting it at number 1, are the Christmas market river cruises. Great experience. This is really Rhine and Danube. You're getting into Germany or Austria. This happens to be Vienna. This is the Christmas market in Vienna, and you cannot believe, talk about following your nose. I mean, you've got mulled wine to keep you warm. You've got the hot pastries to keep you warm. You've got Christmas shopping galore. If you love Christmas, if you want cool weather, and I might actually add cold weather, because these cruises are in late November into December, a Christmas market cruise might be right what the doctor ordered. If you've done Vienna, you've done Budapest in the summer, go back and experience it in the wintertime at a Christmas market cruise, and you will have the city comes to life in a completely different way with Christmas markets. I mentioned this one. This is a picture from the Douro River, and think about wine as an option. Get a couple of your friends together and go on a wine cruise and get that port wine right there that is in vineyards directly off of the Douro River. But that's not the only place you can get wine themed cruises. You can get them on the Rhine. You can get them on the Danube as well. There's vineyards up and down both of those rivers, and also in France as well. So definitely think about a wine themed cruise. AMA Waterways does some amazing wine itineraries. So put that one in the back of your mind. If a wine cruise is up your alley, think of AMA Waterways first for your selection of an itinerary. Exotic cruises. So I mentioned 85% of all beds on the river are in Europe. If you've done that, or that's not your style, hey, I'd rather do a land vacation in Europe instead of a river cruise, but I want to go to Myanmar. I want to get on the Mekong. That's the picture on the left here. Or if you've thought about a safari and you want to do it in a different way, this is the Zambezi Queen, an AMA ship that is on the Zambezi River in Africa. You can tack on a safari experience from the river. These ships are going to be different. They're not going to be the same style of the European river cruise. So if you're used to that, you can see already the Zambezi Queen, quite a bit smaller, Do not worry, though. You are not going to compromise on your accommodations. This is the Mekong Jewel. It is a ship in the Uniworld fleet. This sails on the Mekong. So while you're in Asia and off ship, there could be some drastic differences in the culture. It's going to be maybe a little bit harsher in regards to some poverty you're going to experience. You are not going to compromise on your accommodations on the river. So don't feel like you're going to a second-rate river cruise company or river ship if you're going to sail on the Mekong. I just thought this was a beautiful picture of what the Mekong Jewel has to offer if you're thinking of something completely different from a river cruise standpoint. And I would highly recommend, if you've never done an exotic trip to Asia or to Africa, go with a supplier, a partner of ours that can take care of all of the issues, all of the needs. A river cruise company or an escorted land vacation opportunity, but you could also sail in China on the Yangtze. I've sailed on Uniworld on the Yangtze River in China, and they took care of everything. There was a land component before the river experience that really tied everything together in Beijing, Xi'an, and then we ended in Shanghai with a river cruise in the middle of it. It was a fantastic experience to get to China, not have to worry about being on my own, seeing things on land and on the river was just a beautiful enhancement. Another themed cruise you may not be aware of or thinking about, close to home options. This is Viking, who is now this summer on the Mississippi River. What an unbelievably gorgeous ship. Now, this ship, I have to caution you, is closer to 300 passengers. It has 5 decks, so it's quite a bit bigger. But Viking has brought its consistency and delivery of their fleet to the North American market on the Mississippi. You would love this cruise if you are thinking, I don't want to go on another flight across the pond. I don't want to be on the flight that long. I don't want to deal with delays. I want something simple and easy, close to home. Viking is a great opportunity for you, but also American Cruise Line. Keep that one in mind. They have some great offerings, and we'll talk a little bit more about those cruise lines. But no, you can also sail on the Columbia or the Snake River up in the Pacific Northwest if the Mississippi is not of interest to you. But you've got great food on the Mississippi, great history on the Mississippi River as well. And these cruise lines apply all of the great things that they do in Europe to their experience here in North America on the Mississippi, the Columbia, the Snake. Another themed cruise I would recommend, family cruises. Don't just think that river cruising is for a senior market. I want you to think about this. Tauk does an incredible job with family cruising, and they have a program called Tauk Bridges. You may be familiar with Tauk. They're a fantastic tour operator, but they also do river cruising, and they do family river cruising, where the entire program for this experience is geared towards 8-year-olds to 18-year-olds. So it's a cruise line that, as you can see, my wife and I took our kids on this cruise on the Seine when they were 8 and 11 years old. And you might say, oh, how did they do on the river? All of the programming was geared towards these kids. So when we started in Paris, they took us into the Louvre, and we stayed in the Louvre for 3 hours. That's it. We scratched the surface of the Louvre. But guess what? These 2 boys came out of the Louvre because they took us on a scavenger hunt through the Louvre for 3 hours, and they left the Louvre saying, can we go back to the Louvre? What kid has ever said, I want to go back and see any museum? That's how good Tauk is. All of their programming, again, geared towards kids. So don't think about it as a mom or dad or a grandparent, what you want to get out of it. But I know many, many, many grandparents and parents, when they travel, they want their kids to experience something special. On this cruise itinerary, there were families like ours that were parents and kids. There were grandmother and granddaughter, 16-year-old granddaughter. This grandmother took her granddaughter to Paris for the first time, and then they jumped on the river cruise. It was grandparents and 2 grandsons that were the ages of our boys. No parents. They said, we don't want the parents to come. We want this experience all to ourselves, just for our kids. And then there was multi-generations. There was grandparents with parents with kids. and everybody got along. It was a very congenial cruise because of the family orientation. Think about river cruising with Tauk, with their Tauk Bridges program, if a family river cruise resonates with you. Now let's just hit some topics. I told you this was going to be the unedited, unfiltered, unbiased view of river cruising. I've told you all the great things of river cruising. I'm going to dive into maybe some of the things that the river cruise company is not going to plaster on their website from a promotional standpoint, but I want you to know, we at Bon Voyage want you to know about river cruising. And one of those things is, for the most part, other than the Douro, the ships are the same size on every river. The Viking longship, if you read, Viking longship, that must be a bigger ship, longer, must have more public space, larger spaces. It's not any longer than the AMA Waterway ship, the Uniworld Boutique River Cruise, Avalon. They're not any longer. They call them that because they're Vikings, and so they're Viking longships. But just know they're the same length and the same width, with 190 passengers on Viking versus Tauk, who puts 98 passengers on their same length, same width cruises. There's a couple of exceptions in there. The Douro River's one. AMA Waterways has a ship called the AMA Magna. I'll talk about that in a little bit. Slightly different, but they're all the same length. They're all the same width. So please note that. Don't get hung up. All inclusive. What does that mean? I touched on this a little bit earlier. Do your homework and use your resource of your travel advisor to help you understand what the phrase all-inclusive means. And this goes for ocean cruising and river cruising alike. You may hear, oh, we're all-inclusive. We offer beer and wine, like I mentioned, at mealtime. Big difference between beer and wine at mealtime, and it's house wine poured, and beer, not your selection, but their selection, versus a full-on, I can get beer, wine, or spirits at any time of day or night. If I want that nightcap at 10 o'clock at night, it's available to me. All-inclusive food. Hey, your food is taken care of. You have all the food you need. Please note, most river cruise companies do not have 24-hour room service. Most river cruise companies don't have room service at all. You might be able to get something ordered from the restaurant delivered to your room if they can accommodate you, but that's not a guarantee. Sail on Uniworld, they have room service. Sail on Viking, they do not. It's on that comparison sheet, so take a look. Understand what all-inclusive means and get through the vocabulary of the promotional marketing. Why this picture? What am I trying to tell you? Okay, let's talk about the ugly part of river cruising. The good part of river cruising is you're not going to get seasick. You're not going to be out in open water. You're going to see land the entire time you're on the river. In fact, you might, if you had to, get off the ship into the river and you might be able to walk to shore, or it's very shallow water where you could swim to shore very easily without any tide issues. But what comes with the river are high tides and low tides that impact your ability for the ship to traverse bridges or shallow waters. So know this. And we don't have the Weather Channel to be able to prognosticate, okay, on the Rhine between May 15th and June 15th is the best time to be on the river on the Rhine and not experience high water or low water. I'm telling you these things so that you understand your expectations are managed as you get on ship. High water raises the level of the ship. You may not be able to go under a bridge to get to the next destination. Low water, the draft of the ships may be too deep for you to traverse and you cannot go any further. Here's a couple of tidbits. Viking, all their ships are the same. How do they handle high tides? They'll bring a ship and dock it on one side of the bridge, bring a ship and dock it on the other side of the bridge, send you off to an excursion, and they'll move all the stuff for you from one cabin 102 to cabin 102 on the other ship, and you won't know any different. That's a great part about Viking, the consistency of their fleet in case you have to move from one ship to another. If you can't do that on a Uniworld vessel, you may be on a bus a little bit longer to get to a city to experience a new city and get back. Just know that going in. Does it affect every cruise itinerary? Not even close. But please know, high water or low water can impact your experience. Verandas, balconies. Again, think about this. On your ocean cruise, there's what's called sea days. You might want a balcony because of a sea day. Well, there's really not sea days on the river. You're going to be thinking that this is a floating hotel. So the destination is the experience. You may or may not find yourself on your balcony at all. There are a lot of different types of balconies. They call them open air balconies on Avalon. Well, that you don't step out onto a balcony, but you have the window that comes down. So you have open air, but there's nowhere else to step out. So it's not a balcony, but you get open air. You could have a full balcony like this couple has here. Number of cruise lines have small number of balconies that are full balconies, but you could also have a French balcony that is very tiny, that's very small. So just make sure whatever your expectations are, if you love to have a balcony, dig in a little bit more to understand what that balcony means. Here's another thing about river cruising that you need to understand. In many of the popular ports, river cruise lines will not have a berth at the river dock that allows you to step directly onto land. They will tie up next to each other. There could be as many as 4 or 5 river ships tied up next to each other, and you have to traverse the ships to get to land. What does that mean to you? That means your balcony, when you wake up in the morning and you open the curtains to see the beautiful view of Budapest, you may be looking directly into another cabin. Make sure that you have your robe on. That's all I will say. That doesn't happen everywhere. It doesn't happen every time, but I want to manage your expectations. We want to help you understand what that would mean to you so that you get the value of a balcony, or if it's not as valuable to you, you understand what that means. River cruising is hot. It has been for the last 5 years, and I don't see it slowing down. Book now, book early. If you want a specific date, you want a specific ship, specific river, it's probably too late to book something this year, and you need to get on it for next year. There may be some things still late into the season. A Christmas market cruise, you may be able to steal and find one now, but for the most part, these ships sell out quickly. Why? One reason why, it's hot. 2 reasons. The second reason why, not a lot of beds. I just mentioned 190 people down to 100. So there's not as many opportunities for you to book that stateroom on a river cruise. So book early. It's not a sales tactic. This is more of just for you to understand that there typically are not great river cruise last minute deals. Don't be that person that's like, I'm going to wait till they slash the prices on the river. Rarely do they slash the prices because the inventory is already sold. Let's keep going. And now we're going to dive into specific cruise lines. I'm not going to tell you which cruise line you should sail on. Not going to tell you who's the best. Not going to tell you who's the worst. I will give you some comparisons from a price standpoint, but that all depends on which river, which stateroom, how long you're going to go, a 7-night versus a 14-night. So pricing is not something I'm going to get into today, but I will give you some comparisons to each other, like which one is more budget conscious, which one is more luxurious, which one might be a little bit more affordable, but also may not have the same inclusions, may not have the same service levels. Got to keep all those things in mind. So let's start with AMA Waterways. When I think of AMA Waterways, I think of modern, contemporary in design. It's stylish, but still personable. They've got 28 ships in their fleet. And this is probably, in my estimation, the crown jewel of the AMA Waterways fleet. This is a stateroom on the AMA Magna. And I mentioned earlier that all ships are the same length, same width on every river in Europe except the Douro. The AMA Magna is the exception. It is twice the width of a normal river cruise vessel. It only sails on the Danube. It cannot traverse the Main-Danube Canal because of the width, and it cannot fit through the locks to get up to the Rhine. So if you're thinking Danube, and you want something special that's unique and different because of the size of the ship, that's going to afford you, and they don't pack in that many more people. It's just slightly more people on the Ama Magna than it is on their sister ships. Try out the Ama Magna. It's a fantastic experience. Here's another view of what Ama Waterways looks like. They have a really cool design here where their balcony is not all the way across. It's just a portion of your cabin, but then you have more living space that's on the interior. So you'll see the balcony to the left that you can step out and sit down. There's an opening to the right, but you have more interior space. This is a number of their cabin selections on a number of their vessels. Again, modern, contemporary, and stylish yet personable. This is the Ama Serena, is this picture. American Cruise Line. Hence the name, not in Europe. This is a cruise option for you on the Mississippi River. This is one of their vessels here. They've got modern new ships, but they also have some paddle wheel experiences that can take you back to the old 1800s feel of the stylish look on the outside, but the inside is going to be more like this, that is more contemporary. So it's simple sophistication. They've got wonderful private balconies. It is truly an all-American experience. They've got 10 ships in their fleet, might be adding 1 or 2 more. I might be off on that number here because I think some are coming and hitting the water this summer, but it's close to home. It's that option for you alongside Viking that can help you not have to fly all the way to Europe or to the Mekong or to the Zambezi in Africa, that can mitigate that travel experience. Here's another rendering, actually another picture of what the style, of what the feel of an American cruise line experience would be for you. Next up is Avalon Waterways. This is casual design, stylish, but yet again very comfortable in its design. I would say it's on the more affordable side versus some of the Uniworlds or Ama Waterways. So if you're a little bit more budget conscious, Avalon might be something that you would want to consider. I want you to note, though, that it has a unique suite design. A couple of the other cruise lines have this bed facing the balcony view. Avalon has it across the fleet, almost in every stateroom. How cool is that, to lay on your bed and to look out onto the river? And this is what I mentioned, the open air design. Let's go back to this. You can see there is no balcony to step out onto, but there's a sliding glass door that gives you the feel of a balcony. So understand those differences of what a true balcony would be, where you can step out like we saw on Ama, versus the in suite, the open air balcony. So it just is part of your suite, but you get the open air feeling of Avalon. Really great product. And I mentioned here land combination. What does that mean? Avalon is owned by a land tour operator called Globus, the Globus family of brands. They operate a tremendous escorted vacation land experience, and you can tack these together, land plus a river cruise. So a land on Globus and Avalon river cruise, something you might want to think of if you're going to travel all the way to Europe. Don't just go for a 7-night river cruise. Go for a 7-night land on Globus, 7-night river with Avalon. I think you'll find that the value of that experience outweighs what you would do otherwise. Tauk, I mentioned Tauk for Tauk bridges, but it also can do adult style cruising. This is truly your all-inclusive experience. Shore excursions, beer, wine, spirits, all included. This is more of the all-inclusive, a little bit more luxury. Think about them as more of an escorted vacation. Tauk also does a tremendous job with their land offerings. So you can tack on land and cruise, but their overland journeys, meaning their off-ship experiences, are typically a level that's up from their competitors. So off-ship experience, highly encourage you look at Tauk for what they give you, and a lot of educational experiences. So if you love learning a lot about a destination, Tauk is the best at explaining and providing more of an educational experience. And I threw out the Tauk Bridges family multi-generational offering. Some of the other cruise lines do it. Ama Waterways partners with Disney and take a couple of their itineraries and convert them to more of a family themed experience. So there are other opportunities for the families and multi-gen. I would just say, in my unedited, unbiased, unfiltered view, Tauk does it the best. Uniworld. You can see a dramatic difference in the design. Why? Because old world design in the Uniworld Boutique River Collection. That's the name of their company. And what does that mean? Every ship is unique, one of a kind, and decorated to the destination that you're in. So if you're sailing on the Seine, you've got a more of a Parisian feel. If you're sailing on the Rhine, you've got more of a German. If you're in the Danube, more Austrian. If you're in Egypt on the Sphinx, the SS Sphinx, you've got an Egyptian feel. This is, if you think about your hotel selection when you travel, if you love staying at boutique hotels, if you love like a red carnation style, if you love staying at a hotel that you can't find anywhere else, in other words, not a chain hotel, you will love Uniworld. A little bit more Victorian in design because of the location and the destinations that they serve the most in Europe, but super unique. I showed you a picture of the Mekong Jewel. It's this river cruise company. You saw how uniquely designed that ship was. Beautiful in its decor. But no, maybe this isn't your style. Maybe you look at this and it's a little too ornate for you, or maybe you love it. That's why I'm telling you, I don't know, Uniworld could be perfect for you, or you could say, not for me. That's what we're here to do, is to share with you the information. I wouldn't do my job if I didn't bring up Viking. Viking commands the river cruise space. They have 50% of all river cruise beds on all of the rivers of the world. They know this space very well. Consistency and delivery of their fleet is a hallmark for Viking. From one ship to the next, one river to the next, you know what you're going to get with their design. Slight upgrades when it comes to newer builds. This is a Viking ship, so think of Viking, and I don't mean this in a disparaging way at all, but I mentioned Uniworld is more of your unique boutique style hotel. Viking is going to be more of your Marriott, Hyatt, Hilton experience. Consistency. I know where the coffee maker is. I know what the bathroom looks like. I have everything I need. It's consistent. It's sleek in its design, primarily because the owner is from Norway, so it has a Scandinavian simplistic design in its feel. But it has a ton of ships. I think I'm off. I think they have 77 earlier this year, but they took delivery of a few more. So again, the most ships on the river. And if you're thinking of value, what are you getting for your money? Viking is one of the leaders in value. But note, some of the amenities are not there. No gym, no bicycles, no spa. They're going to be much more geared towards beer and wine at dinner and lunch versus an all-inclusive experience, but that may be right up your alley. So Viking may be for you, but you can see a design difference. You can see they do have good shore excursions, but not the educational, immersive, really cool experiences that Tauk is going to be able to offer you. So you got to think about what matters to you. Travel is one size fits one. And it is how you see the world and what is important to you. Here's the end of the River Cruise webinar here. We touched on a lot of different things, maybe have some questions. I'm going to just jump in here. Somebody did ask, in my opinion, what river cruise line offers the best value. I think I shared that with you there. I think Viking's one of the best. From a price standpoint, Avalon is going to be the least expensive of these. But again, value's in the eye of the beholder. So if you love to have that cocktail late at night and you don't want to have to pay $20 per drink, then you're going to want to think more about Uniworld or Tauk. If that doesn't matter to you, then you probably don't need to worry as much. I think we answered most of our other questions. If you do have some questions, jump in and pop them into the chat or the Q&A. I see that we do have some questions coming in here. Has the food improved on Viking? Thank you, Janine. That's a good question. I would say the food, if you've sailed on Viking Ocean, their food is exceptional. Viking River, little bit more standard. So I would say it's not their hallmark. It's good, but not their hallmark. That's kind of the best. And when you say improved, I'm not sure when your last biking experience was, but it is good, not great, if that kind of gives you the answer. Let's see here. On a tour where beer and wine are at meals, is there a bar where you can get additional beverages? Typically, yes, but at your own cost. It's an additional cost to use. So the cruise lines I mentioned, Viking, Ama, Avalon, that don't have beer, wine, and cocktails and spirits outside of your mealtime complimentary, they all have bars and they all have beer, wine, and spirits for you to be able to purchase. That's the difference, is does it come with your cruise fare or do you purchase it? So Julia, yes, you absolutely can get adult beverages. You can get specialty coffees and all of those things on your ship, on all of these river cruise ships, but are you going to pay for it in addition to your cruise fare or not? Somebody did mention they want to know about the information, the handout sheet. It should be in the chat. If you can't access it in the chat, we're going to email it back out to you. We know who you are, and we will get that out to you in a PDF form that you can use to for that cruise comparison. But we're also recording this webinar. It will be posted to our website, bvtravel.com, in the coming days. So make sure that you go back there and check that out. I would probably say today's Thursday. I'd probably check back on Monday if you want to rewatch it and catch something that you missed, or tell your friends and family about it. And you can check that out and share that link so that others can watch. And that is really, when I think about river cruising or travel in general, it's always better when you have friends or family that travel with you. So let's go through some more of these questions I'm seeing here. Yes, you can purchase drinks on shore and bring them on board. Very relaxed environment. You can, just like you can on ocean vessels, you can buy wine and bring it on. If you're going to have it, have a wine bottle corked in the restaurant. Each of the cruise lines, some of them have corkerage fees, some don't. So you just need to check on that. But make sure that you know what you're getting into. Let's see. So I think that might be it in regards to questions. I went fast and furious, but wanted to make sure that we got as many. I'm going to leave it open for just a little bit longer and leave you with one thing. Please know we are tremendous partners with all of these cruise lines. That's why we touched on them. I've sailed on them. We sell a lot of each of these cruise lines. What does that mean to you? It means a couple of things. Promotions. Every one of these cruise lines right now, we have some type of a promotion running. It might not be on every river, might not be on every itinerary that is out there, but we have a promotion of some kind. So come talk to us. We have river cruise experts and we know these people. The other thing that you need to know is, I know the presidents of all these cruise lines. And what does that mean to you? If there's a problem, if there's a challenge that our advisors can't solve, it goes up the food chain here at Bon Voyage, and we can advocate for you to the very highest level of all of these cruise partners. So I think we'll draw this webinar to a close. I want to thank you for joining us today. It's been my pleasure sharing with you the good, the bad, I wouldn't say ugly, because there's really nothing ugly about river cruising, but I hope you got something out of the webinar today. Thank you. And I would encourage you to contact Bon Voyage to get connected to one of our advisors and book your next river cruise with Bon Voyage Travel. Thank you for joining us.